All right, today I'm going to show you guys how I wax up and carve a partial to get ready for process. I'm just going to kind of pretend that this isn't waxed and carved just so you guys can see how I do it from the beginning to the end. Okay, so I always start by just globbing on a bunch of wax, and I bring it up all the way to the edge of the teeth. These are all going to get covered in wax. It's for a reason. Everybody waxes a little differently. Some are cleaner, some are messier, some take longer, some are faster. This is my technique. It's how I like doing it. I like the result. And you can always change up any aspect of how you're doing it. This is just what I found works best for me. Alright, here's what it looks like. It looks super messy, but this is how I do it. And then I'm going to take the brush wheel and I'm going to take the wax down like 2/3 of the way down the tooth. Like if I were to carve it down here, down to here, I'm only going to take my brush wheel up to like that point. I'll show you. Kind of like that. Alright, so I do it that way because the wax is thicker along here. Like if I brought it all the way down to the bottom of the tooth and I try to carve it, okay, got a really weird thin carve around that tooth, right? Whereas if I bring it down all the way. Sorry, the carving looks weird. I'm not used to holding it that way. But you see how I get that nice, thick kind of ledge off? And that's going to help me later too when I'm carving. But it just looks more real as opposed to, again, like a really thin line. Alright, so everyone does this a little differently. Here's how I do it. Kind of hold it like this, upside down, and I go one side, and I'm pressing my tool against the tooth, but I'm really just guiding it along the tooth. I'm letting the tooth do most of the work, guiding that line. You see how I'm also angling this tool away from the tooth? Because if I go in there like this, I'm going to create kind of a pit. See? Doesn't look great, but if I angle it away from the tooth, like this, you know, I'm getting this ledge, as opposed to digging it out like that. It's hard to explain, and it really just takes practice. And then, you know, I would flip the model and kind of go back the other way. Everyone does it differently. It's just how I do mine. It's hard because usually I have this thing a lot closer to my chest, but for the video, gotta hold it way different. I'll come back and show you cleaned up a little. Alright, so I usually hold this thing against me while I'm carving. It's just more stability. But I came over here and I just wanted to show you why the angle of the tool matters. I angled the tool towards this, You see, it just comes, it's very pitted, just looks not natural. I do kind of change the angle with the tool when I'm working in the front. Just trying to get sharper lines, but then I do go back and keep that angle. I also want to note that I'm not digging into this interproximal space here. I just start where the teeth touch and glide. You don't want to dig in there. So when I'm going on the back sides of these teeth, I keep my tool the way that this is facing kind of parallel, because that's where I want the direction of the wax to be, right? So if I'm scraping it, the wax is going to come out. Like this, I scraped it at an angle, so the wax comes down. All right, here's what it looks like right now. See, got some wax on the teeth, but I'm gonna just take my brush roll of that real quick, and then we can start really carving in the characterization. All right, we're gonna start carving, and I like to keep it warm while I'm carving. I promise you it'll be 8 million times easier. And I just start by going in between the teeth, and I just make a line. You see how I've kind of angled this one back. That's important. I'll show you why in a minute. But then I just start by going under kind of where I want we're going to try to carve this to make it look like this artificial tooth has a root, right? And let's see if so you can see here, well, kind of. There's dips in between the teeth, and there's the dip that goes under this bit of roll under the tooth. That's kind of what we're making. So I'm just going over it and over it and over it. And I'm going to make sure that I leave this part out thicker than the bottom area. This is really hard to explain. It's going to look a little messy. But I really am just going boom, boom, boom. The sound effects are necessary for a proper carve. I go on this back tooth, and I kind of angle it, my little lines back. So I'm not taking it down all the way up against the tooth. I'm going slightly under it. All right, this is what we look like. I went back in a little bit and just took down some thickness across here, especially in the inner proximals. And now that you've done all this hard work, you flame it up. Yeah, that's it. And then I go back in and just recarve any bits that got muddy here. It's pretty good. All right, this is ready to be processed.